Hello everyone, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about the Chinese solar calendar and the Earth's orbit. Now, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but I have, that the Chinese solar months in the summertime have more dates, more days that is, than in the winter. And I just wondered why that would be so, and it has a pretty regular pattern, and it just dawned on me it's because of the Earth's orbit around the sun. And that means that the solar calendar, the Chinese solar calendar, and actually more specific, the 24 Jihei, which I'll talk about in a bit, are actually based on the Earth's orbit. And I think that's really cool because I'm a physicist and, you know, it speaks to my nerdiness. Now, the Earth's orbit is slightly elliptical, and that is why we have this pattern. If it were completely circular, we would have equal number of days and still have to deal with, of course, a leap day every so often, usually every 4 years. Now, this is true of any planet or comet or anything that's orbiting a bigger body. Whenever that object is closer to the sun, it will move faster than when you look at it when it's farthest from the sun. This is because of the way gravity works. The distance between the two, really the centers pretty much of the two objects, will determine the gravitational pull. If you're closer, the gravitational pull is stronger, so you need to move faster if you want to stay in orbit. Otherwise, you'll get sucked into the sun. So this is how all orbits work. This is just the way physics is. This is the way gravity works. So now if we place a compass on the sun and we divide it into 12 equal size sectors because we have 12 months, the number of days spent in the sector with the Earth closest to the sun will be shorter or fewer than the number of the days spent when it's farthest from the sun. That is physical reality. Now, the ellipticity of the Earth is quite small. A circle has zero ellipticity, if you're wondering, but this is enough to make a difference. And if you want a pretty good overview of the Earth's orbit, you can actually go to Wikipedia. It does a pretty decent job, at least last time I looked at it. Now, leap years can disrupt this pattern of exactly how many days are in a month a bit because of the exact timing of the Jihei. And again, I will talk about the Jihei in a bit. So here is a highly exaggerated elliptical orbit. Our orbit is so close to being a circle, it's hard to tell the difference. But there's a couple things you need to define. At perihelion, it is where the planet is closest to the sun. Every place else, it's farther away. And at aphelion, it's where it's farthest away. So now if we put a compass, a simple, very simple compass, it doesn't matter actually where any of these lines are as long as they are 30 degrees wide, but I've just done them so they're balanced on the elliptical axis. That actually makes sense. And you can see here at perihelion, you have a short distance to travel and the planet's moving faster. And at aphelion, it's got a longer distance to travel and it's moving slower. So this is why you get this time difference for an equal sector of a degree sector around the sun. Now, this is not really Halley's Comet. That is extraordinarily elliptical, but it's kind of akin to it. I mean, this is a lot more like Halley's Comet than the Earth. But Halley's Comet has a period of about 76 years, but we can only see the tail for about 6 months. That is, of course, with our naked eye. You can see it a bit longer with a telescope. And what the tail is the sunlight illuminating the gases that are evaporating or actually sublimating from the comet. And the sun heats it up enough that these gases will turn to vapor. And we're seeing the vapor being lit up by the sun. That's what a comet tail is. So this, I've chosen 2025 because it's not a leap year for either the Chinese solar calendar or the JTA, and it's not a leap year for the Gregorian calendar either. So this gives a nice clean pattern. And you can see that in the wintertime, we have the fewest days, and in the summertime, we have the most. Now, apoapsis is the point at which the planet is farthest from the sun. You will see that it doesn't fall on summer solstice, but it does fall in the summertime. Now, the summer solstice is based on the tilt of the planet to the plane of orbit. And it just happens to be that these are somewhat close. There's no reason why they would have to be that way. Absolutely no reason. It just is somewhat of a coincidence. So but they are uncorrelated. They could be at any date, actually. And at winter solstice, we have that's usually December 21st, but sometimes it's 22nd. And the periapsis is on January 3rd. So these two are really 6 months apart, which makes sense. So uh, this is, you know, this is a nice clean pattern. I was very happy to see it. And that made me confirm, yes, we are dealing with reality here. We're dealing with certain angles around the sun. So that makes me conclude that the Chinese solar calendar is based on astronomical reality, unlike the Gregorian calendar, which we use, or at least most of the world uses. Now, it is true that the ellipticity of the Earth orbit does change, but it changes extremely slowly, and it oscillates between being circular and being slightly elliptical, and that's because we have the other planets in our solar system tugging at us in certain directions, and so we do have this oscillation. But the shortest oscillation, they believe, is about 100,000 years, and it can be as many as over 400,000 years. So even if this was first discovered 5,000 years ago by the Chinese when they tried to, well, when they created the Jit uh, this is not enough time to make any difference because we're talking about many, many more thousands of years. Now, the Gregorian calendar, which is the standard calendar that most of the world uses, was actually created by a pope, Pope Gregory, obviously, and it has lost its reliance on nature. So I actually like the Chinese solar calendar better because, I'm a physicist, so it just makes me feel like we're dealing with reality. Now, the Shachi mitigation dates are actually based on the Chinese solar months, and this actually the star of the solar months. So this is an important thing, and why we don't use the Gregorian calendar to try to determine this. And of course, these can vary a little bit from year to year, and to really know this, you have to be very careful when you're calculating the Shachi mitigation dates. Now, I give them to you every month, but I check as best I can to make sure I'm using the right dates, or I should say the right stars for the right dates. Now, this is Jit this is it's Cantonese because I don't know how to say it in Mandarin. This character here, the second character is Qi, like energy, the Qi we talk about all the time. And the Jit is like a festival. So that doesn't really translate very well. So it's been given the term solar term. And Wikipedia has a decent article about it. And this is actually the basis for the sun and moon arrival dates, and consequently for the Chinese solar months too. So I do give you the sun and moon arrival dates, throughout the year. And it's all based on the Jite. And this is really, this really makes me happy. Now, this is from a site in Hong Kong by the Hong Kong government, and it tells you what the Jite are. That there's 24 of them, and this is over a year. So heavy snow is here, and it starts here, and the heavy snow is here. So I've repeated a bit over a year because I wanted to have it start in a full month. So rat here and rat here, and then we just go through the rest of the um, months. Now, these are, of course, if you look at these by name, obviously this was based for agriculture. So, um, so this helps, and this is really what it was for, to let people know when to plant, when to do things. Now, not only do we have the actual dates, we have the time. This time is in Hong Kong, which is also the same time as China. So you can convert this to your local time if you really need to use one of these dates, like the beginning date or the end date of one of these periods. And I just calculated the number of days for each one of these periods, and it has that same um, pattern. And of course, these dates correspond to these dates. This is February 3rd, when Chinese New Year. This is for 2025. This is the day before. So it all works out 100%. And this is how I know this is the way it's supposed to work. Now, I do think there are sometimes a little bit of goofiness happens with the month dates and the Jite months when there's a leap year. So I'm going to have to look at this a bit more, but I'm going to try to use actually these Jite months, or the months defined by the Jite, rather than what I might find on some software somewhere, because I think this is really solid. Now, because there's 24 instead of divided by 12, it's not a 30-degree slice, it's a 15-degree slice. And 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 it really seems to be truly exactly how they do it. And the Chinese, I mean, the Hong Kong Observatory uses data from both England and the United States, and we're talking about other observatories and almanacs and all this kind of stuff in these countries. So there's 3 different checks on this. So I'm pretty confident about the dates given by the China or the Hong Kong government. Now, the sun and moon arrival dates, and I do videos about that every month, they allow you to do a renovation or a construction or taking down a dead tree or planting a tree, anything like this, in a location that has an annual affliction without triggering the annual affliction. But you only have like that 2-week period between 14 and 16 days to do this, and it only arrives every once in a while. And but this actually makes it a lot easier to plan things. So this is the whole reason why we care about the Jite, because they're linked to the sun and moon arrival dates. Now, if you're going to be using the sun and moon arrival dates for your location, if you're going to use that, the beginning day or the end day, the actual dates on the 2 ends, it is best if you actually find your local time, the time from Hong Kong, convert that to your local time zone. You can do that with dateandtime.com. They have a thing that does this really easily, and I use it all the time. Um, but that's only true if you need to use the first or last day. If you're using any of the dates in between, you're good. It's really, I only worry about the first and last day. Now you can find, again, this is the website, so you don't have to read it sideways, where you can find these Jite windows. So I'm not going to be doing this stuff forever. I'm going to retire at some point. So if you want to do that, this is where you're going to get your data. Now it has the current year and the 2 years following. So you can work this ahead of time. and that's good. So that's it. I'd like to thank you for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment if you have questions, or you can email me. And I have a website that you can look at if you're interested. But and I also do sell some charts, basically the Cheeman charts for your house, which you probably can't get elsewhere unless you buy an expensive book or do a whole consultation. So I'd like to thank you for watching.